6 months. Half a year, just straight up, since I did the Bob's Burgers season 1 video. That's so long. Oh, jeez. Yeah, genuinely, my apologies, chat. That is all on me. That's the problem when you have reviewing so many shows at a time. A show like Bob's Burgers, which really did not deserve this, got pushed back way too far. I pray that the wait between season 2 and 3 will not be as long. What makes it even sadder is that season 2 is only like 9 episodes, so well, it definitely made it easier to watch through them all. It does mean it means this isn't going to be like the longest thing ever. Hopefully, you can still enjoy my takes. Again, Avi, the Bob's Burgers video is also extremely early. Like the season 1 review is super early on in my reviewing career. I believe it was only my 4th review because of the first. We already know the first 3, but yeah, Bob's Burgers was like one of the earliest shows I started reviewing. So I think it's long overdue I finally return to it and give season 2 my thoughts on it. 1. The Belchies. The kids try to find treasure at an abandoned taffy place. I guess technically there's also a whole thing with Bob and Linda, with Bob, let's just say, having issues down there. Not gonna explain that any further, but yeah. Alright, so we start the season off with a 4 out of 5. Pretty good episode. Admittedly, not as great as I remembered. Again, this is why I like watching through the episodes, especially even if it's a show like for Bob's Burgers, I think the first 2 seasons, I'm pretty sure I explained this in my season 1 review as well, but just to reiterate, I'm confident I've seen the first 2 seasons, like all of the first 2 seasons of Bob's Burgers, and I've seen like a good, and it's really with season 3 where they start like those episodes I haven't really seen before. So, and then obviously when we get to the newest stuff, I've seen like none of that other than like maybe like some clips or something. So I'm really curious. So I'm definitely curious about those middle to later seasons. But anyway, back to the review. So yeah, I've seen all these episodes, and that's why before going into this stuff, this was going to be a 5, and well, not good enough to get a 5 rating. I think this was still a pretty good episode. I don't have much to say. Louise has a nice little arc about appreciating her family. Tina gets to stand up for herself against Jimmy Jr. There's also where we get to meet Zeke, by the way, who is a pretty good character. Gene gets to be Gene. Still my favorite character. Don't have a ton to say, really. It's a pretty good episode and kind of just shows that season 2 that the writers are trying to take what they learned from season 1 and applying it to, pretty much just trying to do more with it, like expanding the world more by introducing like Zeke, doing a whole adventure theme. It's good. It's a really good episode. Also, a rip Taffy, man. Only got to be in this one episode, but man, him and Louise had a friendship like no other. Maybe, obviously not. 2. Bob Day Afternoon. Bob's Burgers gets caught up in a hostage situation at the bank. Yeah, okay, so this is a 5 out of 5. I believe this is a fan favorite episode. I feel like I hear people talk about this one a lot, and I feel like I remember watching this one a lot as a kid. On the rare times I watched Bob's Burgers, and yeah, I can see why. I already love it more than anything in season 1. No disrespect to season 1, by the way. That's actually genuinely being better than anything in season 1 is actually a serious high. Like that's a high order. So the fact that they already by their second episode already did it is a very good sign for the season and just the show in general. They aren't going to crash after like one pretty good season. I don't have a lot to say about this one really, other than it's just really, really funny. Just putting a man like Bob in something like a hostage situation, like him and the family having to be in the middle of it, it's great. I love Louise trying to do the report on Mickey. And speaking of Mickey, what an amazing character! I love Mickey so much. I do know that he returns in later episodes, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he starts like working at the wharf and all that. So I'm definitely curious to see more of Mickey. Just seeing, but yeah. So while he does become, I believe, a better person later on, it'll always be fun to see him in this episode desperately trying to look tough and like robbing a bank when really he just needs Rodney, man. He couldn't do this without Rodney. I honestly I could spend the rest of this just listing off the hilarious jokes, which I'll list a few of them just to show how much I love this episode. Okay, so let's see. We have the law. We have like I forgot if he was like actually the lawyer, but like the guy at the bank Bob was talking to at the beginning, having a phone call with a piece of paper, and Bob's like, "That's a piece of paper," and he's like, "Yeah, but I still gotta take this." We also have the Robot College, which that feels like a Family Guy joke. I feel like this is just gonna be a whole thing. Like that's the whole season. There were several moments where I felt where they do like cutaways and stuff, or I mean, they're really flashbacks, but it's like this just feels like Family Guy, which makes the fact that Bob's Burgers fans, a lot of them like to hate on Family Guy, makes like no sense. Again, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure they like phase this out later on. I know season one had a bit of this as well, so maybe this is just early season stuff, but still, it's just a weird thing I noticed. But hey, I'm not gonna say it shouldn't be here because otherwise we wouldn't get the beauty that is Robot College. 3. Synchronized swimming. Linda deals with the fact that the kids use her. Meanwhile, Bob gets an ice cream machine. 4 out of 5. Don't have much to say other than I just liked watching this one. The kids using Linda doesn't sound good at first, but the episode makes it clear that's really not because like they're evil or anything. They're just kids who are lazy kids. And it's really just Louise who's really doing it. Not Bob. Gene and Tina obviously just do not know how to do, especially Tina. She just does not know how to go along with her bro. Making them do. She's the one who said to do synchronized swimming. She just be poor girl does not know how to handle any of that, bro. I don't have a. Admittedly, I do prefer the stuff of Bob and the ice cream machine, which, given that that's meant to be like a side thing, maybe not the best sign that that's the part of the episode I like the most, but I still gave the episode a 4, so why not? Just accept. I mean, the good episode's a good episode. I think that the yeah, I think the Bob ice cream machine stuff just had like the best moments. Like Bob making Teddy eat the sponge, which I forgot was in this episode. But that's just a peak moment just in the show in general. Bob and Teddy are like Bob, Teddy, and Gene are my 3 faves. And Teddy and Bob's relationship slash friendship is something I always just enjoy watching. So that was a nice. You gotta like Bob trying to work the ice cream machine and doing like the restaurant without anyone else there. He is. It was so fun, and then later in the episode, he's so traumatized by it. It's good. It's great. This is a good episode. 4. Burger Boss. Bob tries to beat Jimmy's high score on the video game Burger Boss. This is a 5 out of 5. Don't have a lot to say. I love this episode. It's just a nice little character journey for Bob, having to realize it doesn't really matter. I mean, still paid DRL, aka Daryl, to do it at the end. So maybe Bob didn't really learn anything, but at least he's not getting like cramps in his hands. There's a word for it, but I'm an idiot, so obviously I don't remember it. Also, it's like almost 12 in the morning, dude. And so yeah, Speaking of which, I think the main highlight of this episode for me is Bob and Daryl's like their dynamic. It's really good. I know Daryl shows up later and kind of befriends the kids. I'm not sure if him and Bob ever really get another episode together, which is a shame because I really loved that. The kids, well, not really having much of a real plot line in the episode. They had some good moments too. Well, like Gina just like Gene just wanting like little pizza bagels while in the yacht club. We also get to see more of Bob and Jimmy Pesto's rivalry, and that's fun. I like that. This is just a great episode. It may not sound like anything too great when I'm just talking about it, but like as a journey, as like a fun like a journey, bro. Burger Boss is an experience, bro. And that's why I think it's a great episode. Funniest moment off the top of my head has to be like the security guard just not letting Bob enter, and then Bob just brings in the kids, and he's like, "Make it as obvious as possible." And the security guard is like, "I misjudged you. They're beautiful." The whole interact, both of those scenes with that security guard were they were the funniest, other than the Bob and Daryl stuff. 5. Food trucking. With food trucks being a new trend, Bob opens up a food truck with the fam. Okay, so I'm just going to be straight up. This is a 3 out of 5. Unfortunately, the good streak that carried out for the first half of the season, with this exactly being the middle point, we reached the first one. That's just kind of meh. Don't really have a lot to say, really. Randy from the Sacred Cow episode is back, but he's way less funny here, at least in my opinion. Because in the first episode, like in Sacred Cow, it was funny because he was like because was like a whole film thing, and him and Bob had a really good back and forth. But in this episode, he's really more of just a nuisance, and it's not as funny, honestly. Like he's not entirely bad. I did like him agreeing with some of the kids' points. And also at the very end when he just could not shut up. I found like so there are a few good jokes, but overall Randy was not as strong here. Honestly, the main highlight of this episode is absolutely Tina being Dina. For being a small little side story that barely really does anything, I found that to be a bit funny, you know. But other than that, this is the type of episode I'd like if someone I knew who was watching Bob's Burgers with me wanted to watch this episode, I'd be like, sure. But it's not an episode I'd actively be like, oh, guys, you need to watch the food truck episode, which is why it gets a 3. Okay, gonna get a drink break. Personal life update. I just watched Friday the 13th with my family. Not a big horror movie guy, but I watched it with them anyway because why not? First movie was a-okay. Okay, back to Bob. So 6, Dr. Yap. Dr. Yap, more like me, literally having all my videos be me just yapping. Heh, heh. I'm not funny, you know. Linda encourages Bob to pretend to date Gail. Meanwhile, Jean and Louisa fight for a jawbreaker. Oh boy, this episode. So I've heard negative things about this episode before. There's this one YouTuber I used to love back when he did animation videos called Jack Jack. He did this video where he talked about like the top 3 worst Bob's Burgers episodes. And I definitely don't agree with his first 2 opinions, but I mean, it's opinion, so I can't really like be upset at him for having them. I barely remembered the Dr. Yap episode, so I was always interested in hearing why that was like his least favorite. But now that I've watched the episode, yeah, this is a 1 out of 5. It's so weird. I never expected Bob's Burgers to have a 1 out of 5 episode. The show is usually so wholesome and so kind-hearted. I didn't expect any episode of it to be truly bad, but nope, we found one. Unfortunately, even this early on, season 2. At least if it was one of the later seasons, you could at least be like, we're running out of ideas. But no, season freaking 2. Yeah, no, I'm just extremely uncomfortable, like almost the entire episode. I just feel bad for Bob. He was drugged up, so he thought Linda's sister Gail was Linda, and because of that, he gets punished. He just gets hurt the whole episode by being uncomfortable with Gail. And Linda, for some reason, encouraging Bob to like be freaky with Gail until at some point she suddenly decides, no, it's not okay. Like, it's what? But then Dr. Yap, who is Bob's dentist, which is why the episode's named after him, it has a thing for Gail. And by the end of the episode, he assumes him and Gail or Bob and Gail are like doing stuff. So he makes sure he pulls out a tooth that's hurting Bob, but he makes sure to makes it really hurt. And it's just like, what? No. It was just really, really uncomfortable. And I really just felt bad for Bob, which I know the point of the show, or at least one of the points of the series, is that Bob is miserable, but like his family helps him and all that. But this was pushing it way too far. Oh yeah, and I guess Jean and Louise had a B plot. I guess not even worth bringing up. That was just a little gross. Literally nothing else to say about that. To be fair to the episode, there is the occasional good line. I do like Bob talking to the dentist equipment, and then the lady has to come in and be like, no, don't touch that. And those aren't its voices. Like, she had to specifically bring up that it wasn't the voices for the dentist equipment. That just got me. We also have Dr. Yap saying that children lead to intercourse, which, yeah, I'm with Bob on that one. That's a little weird, bro. Don't be saying that. We also have the Prince of Persuasion, which was also just a really, really funny. And I guess the whole Tina part, as much as I really don't like the ski resort stuff, I'll have to admit, Tina trying to go with Dr. Yap was a little funny. Mostly the scene with the mirror, but other than that, that was okay. But this is just a bad episode, though. Like, those few good moments I brought up, just try to look them up on YouTube or something. Don't go out of your way to watch, like, such an uncomfortable episode for, like, those few good jokes, bro. It's tough. Seven, Moody Foodie. Bob goes crazy after a bad review. Oh man, good thing Bob's a fictional character. Otherwise, I'd be done for, chat. After talking about that last episode, 3 out of 5. Pretty basic idea, honestly. I guess when you have a show about a restaurant, you have to do the review episode. I remember It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has one, so when I get to the season that has that one, I'll obviously give my thoughts on that. I'm pretty sure the only one I remember really liking, though, was like the SpongeBob one, and even then, that only used that as like the start. Then it shifted to something completely different, and it gets way better. So maybe it's expected of me to only give this thing a 3. Don't have a lot to say, really. It has, like, it's one where there's good jokes in it, but as a whole, it's just kind of meh. I have nothing more to add, really. 8, Bad Tina. Tina befriends a bad girl named Tammy. Meanwhile, Bob gets into Cake Gang. 4 out of 5. For an episode called Bad Tina, it actually broke the, like, I wouldn't call it bad, but the not good cycle that was for 3 episodes in a row. I was getting worried there, but nah, season 2 got some more good left within it, like this one. Admittedly, especially with all the erotic friend fiction stuff, it was a little weird. But then again, Tina is a weird person, so I think I just gotta accept that. Don't have much to say, really. It's weird, but in a funny enough way. Jean and Louise using Tina for like blackmail wasn't like the funniest. At that point I felt a little too bad for Tina, but it's still funny. Plus, almost everything with the Bob and caking stuff was really funny. With him doing good with Teddy, and then by the end, him and Mr. Front bonding together with it. It's 2 grown men bonding over patty cake. Truly, that's the prime example of male friendship. Says me, a guy who's bad at talking to people and doesn't really have friends. Alrighty, let's move on to the finale. 9, Beef Squatch. Bob and Jean get a cooking segment, which turns them against each other. Yeah, this one's good. I have nothing to say really. 4 out of 5. So I remember Phantom Strider putting this in like his worst episodes of the show list, and come on, Bro didn't even put the Doctor Yap episode on there, but apparently this was bad. Like, yeah, Bob, maybe two Phantom Striders credits and two people who don't like this episode. I'll agree, Bob is maybe a little out of character. Maybe just a little, but then again, it's clear that cooking is his passion. So even though he loves Gene, I could see him going a little overboard, especially when we have the Burger Boss episode earlier where he went obsessed over a game. I think, especially given like the point in the show we're in, like we're still early on in the show, I think it's excusable enough. Besides, again, just a funny episode. I like Louise being just totally down to help both Bob and Gene sabotage each other. That was fun. It was just a good episode. A good episode, even if I don't have like a ton to say on it. Time for the ranking. I would say top 10, but given that, again, this is only like 9 episodes, I'm just going to start at the bottom. With the one and only 1 out of 5, Dr. Yap is obviously the bad one of the bunch. One of these things has a different rating. Then for the 3 out of 5s, we have Food Truckin' and Moody Foodie as the 2 3 out of 5s. I think Food Truckin' I think was more consistently meh, but Moody Foodie had more funny I think at higher highs, which makes me I'd rather rewatch that one, honestly. And then for the 6 4 out of and not 6 4 out of 5s, but for the 4 out of 5s, we have Bad Tina. And then for the top 5, we have Beef Squatch, Synchronized Swimming, and the Belchies. And the 2 5 out of 5s are Burger Boss and Bob Day Afternoon. So what's my overall opinion on Bob's Burger Season 2? Well, I'm sorry to say, but I definitely do still find Season 1 better. If anything, Season 2 mostly kind of just feels like random little ideas they had after Season 1. I think the fact it's only 9 episodes, well, again, does make it easier to binge through all the episodes. It does result in feeling like they weren't really able to evolve that much beyond what Season 1 was able to do. But then again, Season 1 was really good, so I can't be too upset. Don't have a lot to say, really. Season 2 was just a good season. It started off really strong. Like, I think the first 4 episodes, I think that stretch was like the best episodes. Actually, let me check. Yeah, literally the first 4 episodes still remained at the top 4 of the season. Wow. Really shows that the season started strong. Then by like the middle, it got kind of and then we got a few more good ones by the end. So yeah, once again, I apologize for the Bob's Burgers fans waiting so long. Maybe they randomly saw my season 1 review months ago and just assumed I gave up on the show. Well, I did not. I'm just slow in more ways than one. Hopefully, I do plan. Hopefully, way sooner I can get to Bob's Burger season 3, and that's when we finally get to the full length Bob's Burger seasons. But until then, I'll see you guys next time.